take some questions from the audience. Brian Singleton is going to be the first student who has a chance to ask questions. If there's some faculty or staff,
I see somebody back there has a
or
hand.
students might have to leave to go to a class,
right.
Now might be a good time to make your exit before we start the questions.
Somebody had their hand up back there, right?
Yeah, Brian?
Yes, thank you. We know how you feel about the bridge. How do you feel about the Turnpike? And what is, I know you get into this in the book, what was the reason for routing the Turnpike the way it was routed through the most industrial part of New Jersey?
Well, there's a chapter in the Turnpike book called So Bad It's Good. And that's referring to the northern stretches, which is almost a sixth grade geography lesson in transportation, you know, where you have the Turnpike, the biggest road in the world, right next to a Newark Airport, the Conrail train yards and the Maersk cranes unloading ships in the second largest container port in the world. It's quite a sight. It's hideous and yet rather, and then just south of there, the flares from the Bayway refinery. I think I have a kind of a love-hate thing with the Turnpike. It was put, you know, from one point of view, you could say, what an awful thing to put it through this incredible industrial area. From another point of view, you could say, if you're going to build a road like that, why not put it through the industrial area so you don't despoil the rest of our rather small and narrow state? Although, let's face it, there are people from out of state who think that the Turnpike is New Jersey. And it's responsible for many of the Jersey jokes that have been around for so long, and something I've written about a great deal, the Jersey joke. And in terms of how do I feel about the Turnpike, I think I have deep affection for the George Washington Bridge. Because, as I said at the end here, my friends and I used to hike across it all the time, and I have deep associations with it with my father. In fact, the second picture in the book is a picture of me at the age of 5 standing on the George Washington Bridge with my brother, and it kind of makes a nice pairing with the last picture, which is a picture of me climbing to the top. So I have deep affection for the George Washington Bridge, and as I said earlier, I felt a real mission to in this book to say, hey, let's pay some attention to the George Washington Bridge. What is this obsession with the Brooklyn? The Turnpike. I think we talk more about its ugliness than its beauty, and also the people who run it are singularly unimaginative. And it's interesting that when you say, but it's filthy, what they will say to you, no, it's the cleanest highway in the world, which it may very well be, but of course you're looking out to the sides. But I mean, to plan a highway like that, which has essentially in the northern stretches no landscaping whatsoever. I mean, basically, the Turnpike was built with the kind of can-do attitude that came out of World War II, the Seabees in World War II, building airstrips on Pacific atolls in the middle of absolutely nowhere, making an airstrip in 24 hours, that sort of thing. In fact, many of the people working on Turnpike were World War II vets, and some of the head construction people had been officers in World War II. And they said, we're just going to build this thing, boom. I mean, they built the Turnpike in 2 years. It's hard to believe. They had a northern crew and a southern crew, and they actually had more crews, and they were working on all of it at the same time. And they didn't have the environmental concerns that we have today. It'd take you longer than 2 years just to get approval to build a jug handle today, and it took to build a whole doggone Turnpike. Well, it didn't include the eastern spur, but when it opened, it was the main part of it was there. And then, you know, it's kind of funny to write a book about an institution because I get called up a lot by the press and media whenever they're doing anything on Turnpike. They think I can tell them something. They're like, I don't know anything. It's just in the book, you know. And I've never read the book, to tell you the truth. Oh, I read it when I was writing it. I've never read a book of mine, actually. It's a very funny thing. I always feel if I really sit down and read it, I'll be living in the past, because a book is like a love affair. You finish the love affair is over. You don't want to revisit. Please.
When I was a little girl, I read a book about a little red lighthouse under the George Washington Bridge, and I've always tried to find it, and I'm wondering whether that's a myth or if it's a true story.
The Little Red Lighthouse is still there, and it's not a myth. And indeed, the book that you read, The Little Red Lighthouse and the Great Gray Bridge, is based on reality, when the poor Little Red Lighthouse feels real bad because the bridge is being built over it, and it will be discontinued. In fact, they were going to tear it down. And by the way, that lighthouse didn't even originate there. It was brought there from elsewhere. And then it was there for shipping, because it stands on Jeffrey's Hook, which is a piece of Manhattan that juts out into the Hudson. So it's a dangerous place. And the New York Tower stands on that same Jeffrey's Hook. And when you're going across the George, when you're on the upper deck, you can't see it because it's right under you. But at some point or other, either if you ride across, or walk across, or bike across, and then when you get across, I mean, what I'd invite everybody to do is, for fun, just go to Fort Lee and park in the big parking lot, which is fairly inexpensive, behind the George Washington Bridge headquarters, okay? And then walk across the bridge. And if you want to go to Little Red Lighthouse, when you get off the bridge, you circle around down through a park, and there it is, and you're standing under the New York Tower. And every September, there is a festival called the Little Red Lighthouse Festival, and you could just find out, go online and find out what the date is. It's always September, and there's lots of people there, and games, and food, and stuff, and you're allowed into the Little Red Lighthouse, and you climb to the top, and it's really, I did that one September while writing this book, so yes, it's very much still there.